Welcome viewers to the northeast of England for the second round of the 2025 EKS National Championships and the first ever round of the EKS Northern Championships. We're racing today at Warden Law kart circuit. This is located just 20 minutes down the road from the Angel of the North, and this event is seen a record senior attendance of 43 drivers, smashing the previous record of 37 set last year. Junaid Jones set a superb lap time in the one-shot qualifying to remarkably put it on pole position for this race, and he's starting alongside track local Tom Shipman on the front row of the grid. Barry Lakes finished third position in our event last year at Three Sisters, and he's starting in third place for this race. He's starting alongside another local in the form of Freddy Winskell, and then Lewis Blench is starting up in P5 alongside Matthew Clark. Hassan Zafar is the reigning British indoor karting champion, and he's starting on row 4 alongside Adam Barras. And then it's Lewis Jolly who's starting in P9 next to another Lewis in the form of Lewis Middleton. Reece Barker is then starting in 11th place alongside Joel Metcalf, and we have another Lewis taking part in this race. That is Lewis Ashforth who's starting in P13, and he's starting on row 7 alongside Chris Phillips. Amelia Charlesworth, meanwhile, she's starting up in a 15th position alongside Adam Gudgeon, and then it's Raj Kula who's starting on row 9 alongside Chrissy Harding to form an all-female row 9. Brandon Barker is then starting in 19th position. He is the identical twin of Reece Barker, and then Hugh Morriton is starting alongside him in 20th position. And we've got James King, the reigning D-Max Super Champs champion at Milton Keynes. He is starting down in 21st position, having had issues on his qualifying lap, and he's starting on row 11 alongside Henry Brown. And then it's Josh Wynn, otherwise known as Karting with Josh. He is starting in 23rd position on the grid, and he's starting on row 12 alongside Tegan Edwards.
So we're ready to get going for the first round of the EKS Northern Championship. Keeping our eyes on the lights, Junaid Jones, Tom Shipman sharing the front row. And it's lights out and away we go. And it's a good start for Tom, who looks like he might be about to get clear of Junaid Jones into the first corner. Junaid on the inside line is going to have that tighter run as we go through the first corner. Tom goes to the wet line all the way onto the outside line. Junaid gets overtaken himself. Tom gets overtaken as well. So Tom slots into third, Junaid into second. Meanwhile, Lewis Jolly making up plenty of positions, watching the battling unfold just in front of him as everyone squeezes through the second sector of this track.
Yeah, that's Barry Lakes there who's got the whole shot, so he's now into the lead of the race, and it's Matthew Clark who's got through from 6th place on the grid, and he's now all the way up to P2 as Tom Shipman, he gets hit there going through St John's. That's Junaid Jones who was briefly on his inside. Junaid Jones, remember, started on pole position, but he's gone a little bit backwards here at the start of this race. He's back on the inside now of Tom Shipman as he passes out for P3 with his fellow front row starter Tom Shipman, but it is Tom now. He's held on to third position as you're riding on board now with Lewis Jolly. You can see a little bit further up through the pack as they head through the centre race. You can see Lewis Jolly currently running in around about P8. You can see all the carts side by side in front. I think that's Junaid Jones there being overtaken by Lewis Blench as they head into the Dunlop chicane. It's Hassan Zafar right in front of us. He's trying to go around the outside here of Adam Barras as they come out of the Dunlop chicane, now going down the back straight down to Gasworks. You can also see the yellow helmet in front of Freddy Winskell. He's all over the back of Junaid Jones. Junaid Jones lost a few positions here, having started on pole position. Lewis Jolly trying to get the run on Adam Barras out of Gasworks, and it is Hassan Zafar who's got through on Adam Barras as they head into the horseshoe to bring an end to lap number 1.
And at the end of lap number 1, we'll be able to see how the order starts to shape up on the timing screen on the left-hand side of your screen, as Lewis still just trying to keep on the back of this train, which at the moment he's not having the most success at doing so. Let's run on board for a moment with Josh Wynn as he's pretty close to Amelia Charlesworth, just ahead of him, trying to make his way into the first corner, but he's again a little bit off the back at the moment. And Lewis Jolly in a similar kind of situation. He watches Junaid Jones actually have to go defensive on that inside line, or is Junaid actually trying to make up a position? Back down the inside goes Hassan, and able to get himself ahead of Junaid Jones. So Junaid ends up losing a position through all of that, and now might lose a second one here as well, as there goes Adam Barras on the inside line, ends up tagging round Junaid Jones. Lewis Jolly flies through on the inside line, gets himself up a position, but that is hugely frustrating for the pole sitter.
Yeah, and you can just see here on the static camera, you can see Adam Barras going around the outside of the centre S. He's slowing down and waiting for Junaid Jones. That was very unlucky there for Adam Barras. Just went a little bit deep whilst trying to get the inside of Junaid into St John's. He tagged him and he spun Junaid round. So this has been rotten luck here for Junaid Jones. Started on pole position, got overtaken by a number of drivers at the start of this race. He was just overtaken by Freddy Winskell going through turn 1, and he's now dropped down, unfortunately, to the back of the field. And Adam Barras, you can see as well from the static camera, he has waited for Junaid. He's just actually let him back through, so that's really unlucky for the both of them. But now, as we come towards the end of the second lap of this race, it's Barry Lakes who's in the lead of this race. Matthew Clark's made a fantastic start here. He's got all the way up to P2, and he's ahead of Tom Shipman, who's a 4-time Senior Rotax champion. 2 of those championships won around here at Warden Law, very much a Warden Law local as well. He's currently running in P3, and it's Lewis Blench who's made a great start here. He's got all the way up to P4.
Still keeping an eye on Josh Wynn, as he seems to have caught up to Amelia Charlesworth, who soon is going to have to do a little bit of defending, but typically as I switch to them, they lengthen out a little bit. Tom Shipman having a bit of a battle going on at the moment. He's up there with Matthew Clark and Lewis Blench, and this battle is for second position. So as they make their way through the left-hander, tricky hairpin this one back onto the straight. Tom tries to get himself into position to launch a move here to the inside line. Can he find a way through? He's got to use where the rubber is, and that just doesn't offer him any grip at all. And it means that Matthew Clark holds on to second position for the time being. Meanwhile, it looks like Junaid Jones just got past Josh Wynn and now looks to attack Amelia Charlesworth as well. So we're right on board with these guys for a moment. Junaid on a bit of a recovery drive, of course, after being taken out by Adam Barras a couple of laps ago. And he'll hope to use some of that pace that got him onto pole position, as there goes a kart off onto the right-hand side. Josh Wynn trying to capitalise on it. It's Chris Phillips as he goes to the outside line. Can he hold it all the way around the outside line? Josh Wynn, as Chris Phillips went off the racetrack. Junaid Jones now on the inside line, gains a position on Amelia Charlesworth. Chris Phillips and Josh Wynn still side by side. There is no grip anywhere on the circuit, but Josh Wynn tries to find some place on the racetrack to get through. Chris goes over and under, back to the outside line, and holds on to the positions. The Junaid Jones gets ahead of Amelia Charlesworth. Chris Phillips gets ahead of Josh Wynn, but this is not over yet.
Yeah, and we may have just seen as well James King just going slowly at the side of the circuit. He has just taken a car out as well. I'm not sure who yet. We'll work that out as I come across the start-finish line to end this lap. But James King has just done a takeout by the looks of things. Otherwise, he's breaking down. I don't think that is the case. So he must be waiting for a driver who has just spun out. And yes, Race Control have been giving him a contact warning. So that is because he has let the driver back through. He would have got a 30-second penalty if he didn't let him back through. But because he has slowed down and waited and let the driver through, he's only been given a contact warning. Just seen that clock up on our screens as you go across the start-finish line. I believe it was Chris Phillips who did go off as well, and there's another car as well. I think we'll see in a second who's got a slow lap time, but yeah, unfortunately James King's now dropped down to P17.
14 minutes to go in the race. We're already over a quarter of the way through, and it's shaping up to be a very interesting one indeed. Tom Shipman at the moment is finding himself about a second or so behind Matthew Clark, but that gap is going up and down. It's very, very variable at this stage. So keeping a keen eye on those race leaders. Barry Lakes, seems to have checked out for the time being. Meanwhile, Josh Wynn still battling with Chris Phillips, still battling with Amelia Charlesworth. Junaid Jones seems to have checked out, using a bit of that pace that he had earlier in the race. And now it'll be interesting to see whether Josh Wynn and Chris Phillips start to work together, as there goes James King down the inside line out of absolutely nowhere. He's on a recovery trail as well, gets himself ahead of Josh Wynn. That is an incredible move from a really, really experienced driver.
Yeah, great move that was by James King, and I can confirm it was Chris Phillips who James King took out. So that is why Chris Phillips was off the circuit going through the centre S. That's why James King was then waiting for a car. He was letting Chris back through. He's trying to get back past Chris though as they come out. Gasworks are going to the inside again. He went to the inside for Gasworks, now gone to the inside for the Horse Show, and look at the grip he's just found on the inside there. He's just gone clean through Chris Phillips. Nearly made that a double overtake too as he was looking at the inside of Amelia Charlesworth at one moment there. But James King now quickly recovering the positions that he just lost. He is now up to 15th position as they come onto the Comrade Straight to bring an end to lap number 4.
12 minutes to go, and Tom Shipman looked to the inside line of Matthew Clark for a very, very brief moment there into the left-hander, but wasn't able to really get the performance on the brakes. He is a very, very long way back, and this track is absolutely soaked. The weather this weekend has been very, very poor. 40, 50 mile an hour winds, making it not the best conditions for go-karting, as these guys are finding out at the moment. 12 minutes to go though. Barry Lakes still leads. He's managed to pull out a 3.1 second gap to Tom Shipman and Matthew Clark. That gap, by the way, has come down in the last few laps. It was up to about 0.4 of a second as we go back to Josh Wynn, who's right on the back of Chris Phillips.
Yeah, and as we just saw as well from Tom Shipman's on board, he's got a little bit of lap traffic there. It's Tegan Evans-Edwards just being overtaken there. She's new to this circuit, and yeah, like you say, Josh Wynn, there's a car off there. That's Junaid Jones, and I think that is Brandon Barker. It's one of the Barker twins. Well, it looks like it might be Reese Barker actually. They are identical twins, so that is even more Ross on luck there for Junaid Jones. I think, as we can see on this relay play here, I think it was Reese Barker who spun by himself, and it was Junaid Jones who then got collected going through the Donald chicane. So this is rotten luck here.
As all did. Tom Shipman watches Matthew Clark spin around on the brakes, Luke, and that means he's gone through into second position, so it's all happening at once here. It looks like Matthew Clark just completely lost it on the brakes. Tom Shipman's had half the job done for him. He's now got 2.8 seconds to catch up to Barry Lakes ahead. That gap is coming down rapidly. I wonder if it will come down completely before the end of this race.
Yeah, that was a great spot there. So that is rotten luck as well for Matthew Clark. So it's rotten luck for Junaid Jones and for Matthew Clark. Was running then in second position, but it looks like he's dropped down the order. I think he's now going around in at fifth place, just trying to see where he is from the camera angles that we have available to us. So that is really unlucky there for Matthew Clark. Started in sixth position on the grid, got back up to P2 straight off the blocks, and he's now down to fifth position. You can see riding on board as well with Lewis Jolly. He's been dropped by a pack a little bit here. He's running in P7. He has got Raj Kular for company though, just out of shot. So he is at the front of the train of cars actually. He's got Joel Metcalf and Lewis Ashford also for company. Lewis Middleton is in the train of cars behind Lewis too. So that'll be an interesting battle to keep an eye on, as you have also been seeing during this race as well. We've got Josh Wynn. He is behind Chris Phillips still. James King, I think, has checked off into the distance in this race. He's absolutely flying in this race, doing a great job of recovering from that incident a couple of laps ago with Chris Phillips, and Amelia Charleston has managed to pull away from Josh Wynn too.
Yeah, these Sodi SR5 carts, very, very tricky braking systems on them. Very easy to lock up and send yourself round, as a few drivers I think are finding here, particularly in the wet conditions.
Oh, Tom Shipman, he's gone round, and he is facing the wrong way at the dogleg. He was running in P2, but that is Lewis Bridge and Freddy Winskell going past, and there is Matthew Clark, who did precisely this on the previous lap. So Tom Shipman, he was following Matthew Clark on the previous lap as he spun it through the dogleg, and now Tom Shipman has done exactly the same. That is such bad luck there for Tom Shipman. You were just saying how tricky it is to drive these karts in the wet, how easy it is to lose it on the brakes, and guess what Tom Shipman goes and does? He goes and loses it on the brakes, just like Matthew Clark did on the previous lap at that corner. So that sucks for Tom Shipman. He is now down to P5, and Lewis Blench, he is now all the way up in second position. So this is a fantastic drive here from Lewis Blench. He has slowly picked off the positions and made his way past people primarily when they have spun around, and Lewis Blench now, he's all the way up to P2, and Barry Lakes, he must be looking over his shoulder and be wondering where everyone's gone, because he's now in the lead by 6.5 seconds. So he has got a huge lead here with just under 9 minutes to go of this race. It is now Lewis Blench who's running in at P2. It is Freddy Winskell who is running in at P3, and then Matthew Clark, he's now back up to P4, and Tom Shipman unfortunately has fallen down to P5. You can see it from the static camera here. Just saw Barry Lakes going through shot. Freddy Winskell's trying to get past Lewis Blench as they go down the Colmore straight. They've now gone out of shot. Unfortunately, haven't got any onboards in that part of the race, courtesy of Tom Shipman spinning out, but it is Freddy Winskell who was just side by side then with Lewis Blench. We'll see as they come back into shot in a few corners time what position they are in. In fact, you can see them in the distance, can't you, from Tom Shipman's onboard. You can just briefly see them popping in and out of shot as a three-way fight, in fact, for second position right into the distance there at the top of shot. Hard to work out who is who at the moment. It looks like it's Lewis Blench who's held on to P2 for the time being, and it looks like that's Matthew Clark who's trying to go up the inside of Freddie Winskell as they head into the centre S. Matthew Clark ducking back to the outside. Those three have all held position for the time being, and Tom Shipman as well. He is noticeably gaining on these carts. He's had great pace so far in this race, Tom Shipman. It's why he was running up in P2, and it looks like he's already beginning to reel back in that gap that he just lost on the previous lap when he spun out. We can look a little bit further down the order as well. Lewis Jolly is currently in 7th position. He's in a bit of a no man's land at the moment, having been dropped by Hassan Zafar. Josh Wynn as well, as we've been looking at through this race, he's currently running in P15. He's been dropped as well by the carts in front. That is Chris Phillips, who was driven off into the distance somewhat, as he's obviously recovering, having been taken out earlier on in the races. Oh, that's a spin there. That's a spin for Lewis Jolly as they head through the Donut chicane. So that's another driver now who has spun out. He was running in at P7 like we just saw, and he's now been overtaken by Raj Kular and Lewis Ashforth, and that's Tegan Edwards who's come past too, although she is a back marker at the moment, and that's Lewis Ashforth trying to make up 2 places in 2 corners. He's through up the inside of Raj Kular. Raj Kular trying to get the car back in him though, as they head out of Gasworks and into the Horseshoe. Lewis Ashforth got the inside line now, and it looks like he is through into P7. So that's 2 places he has made up in 2 corners. As now, oh, there's a spinner in front of Tom Shipman. That's Lewis Blench who's just spun out. That's 2 Lewises in the space of 30 seconds who have spun out, and that one was Lewis Blench, who was running in 2nd place, and Matthew Clark, having spun himself out at the Doug 3 laps ago, he is through and back into P2. So that is really unlucky there for Lewis Blench. Barry Legs, are you firing red shells or something every lap as you head through the dogleg? Because as soon as someone gets into P2, they spin out going through turn 3. It's happening almost every single lap. This is incredible stuff here in lightweight race 1 here of the EKS. We have got just under 6 minutes remaining, and it is Matthew Clark who is now back up into P2. It is Freddy Winskell right in front of us in P3, and it is Tom Shipman now in P4, as he is caught right up to the back of Freddy Winskell going through Gasworks with only 5.5 minutes left of this race.
Remember, this is just race 1 of 2 for these guys today, so they have still got a lot of points to gain later on, as Tom goes into the background trying to maybe find a way through. He's got an opening here on the inside if he fancies it, decides not to as they go through paddock, but will try and set himself up for a run into the first corner. Across the timing line, we'll be able to truly assess the damage for Tom, and you can see there that he's actually gone into 4th position. Lewis Blench just behind him. Freddie Winskell is the red suit, orange helmet just ahead of him, and then it's Matthew Clark in 2nd position at the moment. They've got some back markers as well to really add to the parade here, as Tom's got to be aggressive with them. Goes to the inside line, that gives him a chance to get alongside with Freddie Winskell, who looks over his shoulder, sees Tom there. Tom's still just trying to experiment with those lines, find a way to get through somehow on Freddie Winskell. Through the left-hander they go, onto a straight now as you avoid the curb on the right-hand side. Tom Shipman would be desperately unlucky to not finish this race with a 3rd position, and boy is he trying.
Yeah, he's got Freddie Winskell right in front of him. Freddie Winskell, the founder of Quick Finishers Racing. He's also a track local, lives just down the road from here, as does Tom Shipman. So these are 2 people that know what they're doing around the circuit. Freddie Winskell's gone in a bit deep there, going through the centre S. Tom Shipman trying to get the run on him, going through the Donut chicane. He's going to duck to the inside here. No, he's not. He's going to try and get the cutback though out of chicane. That is very much going to be an overtaking opportunity. I think he's going to do that. Indeed, he does. As they go onto the back straight, he is now up the inside of Freddie Winskell. This is a battle for P3, heading down into Gasworks. Who's going to be latest on the brakes? Tom Shipman, he dies for the apex. Freddie Winskell's probably going to get the cutback here as they come out of Gasworks. Is he going to appear on the right? Yes, he is indeed. Now going through the horseshoe. They're still side by side. Who is going to come out on top here with 3.5 minutes left of this race? Freddie Winskell still hanging it around the outside. What a move that is by Freddie Winskell, straight back into V3. Went all the way around the outside, and he is back into 3rd. Great move that was by Freddie Winskell, and back into 3rd place with Tom Shipman now back down to 4th.
This is going to be a really, really enthralling final 3 minutes of this race, as Tom's struggling with visibility. He has been all race long. If you've been watching us on board, he's been trying to get water off his visor pretty much throughout this one, so that just adds an extra challenge to it. Here he goes down the inside line. There's a back marker in the way. He goes all the way onto the curb and gets himself past Freddie Winskell. Now he's got to complete the move into the right-hander. Looks like he's done exactly that. What a move from Tom Shipman. He decided that he was just going to be very, very bolshy, very opportunistic, and it worked superbly for him. Back into 3rd position. Matthew Clark has used this to build a bit of a gap in 2nd. It's now about 3 seconds or so between the 2 of them, but Tom just has to keep it on the racetrack now for 2.5 more minutes.
Fantastic move that was by Tom Shipman. I'm not too sure who the back marker was there. I think it may have been Henry Brown, but we'll be able to work it out in a minute when they come across the start-finish line again. But yeah, fantastic overtake there by Tom Shipman into the dogleg. He saw the gap opening up. He launched one up the inside. There wasn't much grip on the inside, but he did what he could, sent it up the inside, and yeah, great move that is by Tom Shipman on Freddy Winskell. Lewis Blench as well isn't far behind. He's currently running in at P5, but he is in close quarters to these two, so it'll be interesting to see if he appears in any of these camera angles in a second. Lewis Johnny, meanwhile, he has unfortunately dropped down the order to P9 courtesy of that spin, and he's been dropped a little bit here by Lewis Ashforth and Raj Kula. You can see Lewis going around at the moment, just open his visor. I don't think you can see anything out of his visor, might be steaming up. Also got Josh Wheel a little bit further down the order. Unfortunately, he has spun out a couple more times when we weren't looking, so I'm sure he'll cut that out of his YouTube video. He is currently running down in 17th position. He's actually got Chrissy Harding behind him, so you can see on board with her as well as she goes through the centre rest. She's currently running in P18. She's recovering from a couple of spins earlier on in this race, but now we've got 1.5 minutes left of this race. I believe we're entering the penultimate lap of this race. We're riding on board again with Tom Shipman as he heads through the dogleg. He has got Matthew Clark just in front of him. These two have had very similar lap times throughout this race. Both of them have done 97.2s. Can Tom Shipman hunt Matthew Clark back down here and get himself back in to P2 as he was earlier in this race?
Yeah, well, 1 minute 10 to go, which would suggest that next time they cross the line will make it the final lap of the race. All depends, of course, as well where Barry Lakes is, so keep in mind on that as there's a spinner just in front of Tom Shipman. I don't think that is Matthew Clark. The yellow flag turns to green very, very quickly. So the question here is, into the final lap of the race, is there going to be a mistake from Matthew Clark? That's the only real reason that Tom Shipman would be back into this battle, I think. 40 seconds left on the clock. It's definitely going to be an interesting one, that's for sure. Still the fastest lap of the race goes to Barry Lakes, which means, if I'm not mistaken, Luke, he'll be taking pole position for the next one as it stands.
Oh, Lewis Jolly. Oh, sorry, just as we cut on board with Lewis Jolly there, we just saw James King come flying into shot. So this is the battle for 9th position. James King went up the inside of Lewis Jolly into the first part of the centre S, and he almost took Lewis out just like he did to Chris Phillips earlier on in this race. But thankfully there was no contact that time round, and Lewis came through that one and has held on to 9th place for the time being. But James King doing a great job here of recovering after that incident earlier on in the race. He's, like I say, back into 10th place, setting some fantastic lap times too, which should put him quite far towards the front of the grid in the next race. Like you were just saying, Tom, it is Barry Lakes going to be starting on pole position for this next race at this current moment in time, courtesy of having the fastest lap of the race at the time being. But I can confirm that Barry Lakes has started the final lap of the race now. He is going through the centre rest for the final time this race. We can see running on board with Tom Shipman. He's now in 3rd position with Matthew Clark ahead of him. So Matthew doing a great job here, running up in P2 ahead of Tom. We've got Freddy Winskell just behind. He's less than a second behind Tom Shipman in a P4. And Lewis Brench, he has dropped a little bit down the order now, courtesy of that spin. He's in 5th place, about 5 seconds behind Freddy Winskell now. And it's Hassan Zafar, who's in a little bit of no man's land, currently running in P6.
So the checkered flag awaits as we go into the second half of the final lap of this one, and Tom Shipman still trying what he can to catch up to Matthew Clark, but the gap was over 2 seconds on the line. I think it's probably insurmountable at this stage. Well, just got to try and keep it on the racetrack for the final couple of corners. We'll wait to see Barry Lakes as well, who will take victory very shortly in what has been a relatively flawless drive, actually, from Barry. Really, really good performance in this first race. There is the checkered flag taken by Barry Lakes. The two go into the final corner. Matthew Clark will finish in 2nd position. A really good drive from him as well. Tom Shipman unlucky to not be the driver in 2nd, but he's going to finish in 3rd. A good recovery after that spin halfway through this race. Further down the field, Freddy Winskell will be disappointed to finish in 4th. Lewis Blench not able to get ahead of Freddy towards the end of that race. Hassan Zafar, your British indoor car champion, is in 6th position, with Lewis Ashforth getting into 7th position, just ahead of Raj Kula on that final lap.
It's Barry Lakes then who took a brilliant victory then in that race, winning by over 5 seconds ahead of Matthew Clark, who did a great job of recovering from that spin earlier on the race to finish only 5 seconds behind Barry in P2. And it's Tom Shipman who ended up recovering from his spin to finish up in P3. Freddy Winskell, meanwhile, he finished in P4 in a fantastic debut in the EKS ahead of fellow debutant Lewis Blench. He ended up finishing in 5th position ahead of the reigning British indoor karting champion Hassan Zafar. And it's Lewis Ashforth who got all the way up to P7. We saw that overtake that he made on Raj Kula towards the end of the race. He ended up holding on to 7th ahead of Raj, and it's Lewis Jolly who just held on to P9 ahead of James King then on the final lap of that race. And it's Joel Metcalf who finished up in P11 ahead of Lewis Middleton, with Amelia Charlesworth then finishing in 13th position just ahead of Chris Phillips, who recovered from his spin earlier on in the race. It's Junaid Jones, he recovered up to 15th place after being involved in multiple incidents. It was a very unlucky race for him, having started on pole position, and Reece Barker ended up coming home just behind him in 16th position. Adam Gudgeon then finished just behind in 17th place ahead of Josh Wynn, who just about pipped Chrissy Harding at the finish there. And it's Adam Barrett, he ended up finishing down in 20th position. He'll want to forget about that race, having started up at the sharp end. He was involved in multiple incidents though. And it's Brandon Barker who finished in 21st position ahead of Hugh Moreton. Henry Brown ended up coming home in 23rd place, and Tegan Edwards ended up running out the field, finishing in 24th. James King and Adam Barris, both of them got 30-second penalties at first because of their takeouts, but on both occasions the penalties were downgraded to a 1-point deduction because they let the cart back through, which they took out. And we can now head down to the pit lane where we have our top two, that is Barry Lakes and it's Matthew Clark. Okay, I'm here with Barry Lakes. You just took a dominant victory then in that race. How did that go from your perspective?
Yeah, cheers. It was a good start. Managed to get in the lead literally on the first turn. Had a decent kart, so managed to keep it there. Kept it obviously on the dark stuff. Didn't spin, which is ultimately quite important in these conditions. And yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it actually. Really enjoyed it.
And how did you find the track? It's quite slippery, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, I've driven it in kind of similar conditions before, so it's just a case of just kind of taking that outside line, really, to be honest. And I think halfway through, I kind of eased off a little bit because I could see I got a fair gap behind me. So just took it steady in the rain, started coming down a little bit more as well. So, but yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Good race.
Well done. Great drive.
Thank you. Cheers, Luke.
I'm here with Matthew Clark. You did very well in that race. I believe you had an incident halfway through the race, but you recovered back to second. You did very well. How did it go?
Well, first few corners I don't think could have gone better. Started 6th, and by the time coming out the dog leg, managed to get up the inside of Junaid for second, and then had a few other people keep me company, and hopefully for the first half of that, and then dropped it a little bit. I can't remember where it was I dropped it, but that dropped back down to what, fifth,
I think it was, yeah.
And then another one dropped it in front of me behind that, and then managed to having to pick back through the other two, and yeah, that was very entertaining.
Very good. Great debut as well, so well done.
Yeah, thank you.